The diamond industry is in crisis, and a sure sign is that we have seen dramatic moves in the rough market recently. The Indian trade announced that it will freeze rough imports for 2 months from October 15th to restore the balance between supply and demand. India is by far the largest diamond manufacturing center, accounting for an estimated 80 to 90% of global polished production. That's processing rough to polished. The rough that India imports and the polished that it exports sets the tone for the rest of the market. Now, India's rough imports were down 28% year on year from January through August, and polished exports were down 25%. The net polished export number is below 2019, so we need to stop the narrative that we're still above pre-pandemic levels. We're not. We did not set a new higher bar for demand in 2021-22 that was sustained. That post-COVID recovery was an anomaly, and frankly, as an industry, we did not do enough to sustain it. And I'll return to that point a bit later. For now, the market is down. Manufacturers' polished inventory levels are high due to a slowdown in orders, and polished prices are softer as a result of this mismatch between supply and demand. And that's according to the Gem and Jewelry Export Promotion Council, the trade body which announced India's moratorium on rough buying. This move to freeze rough buying has precedent. The Indian trade famously halted rough imports during the 2008 financial crisis, which was ultimately the catalyst for its recovery back then. Will it work again? Well, we'll see. The mining companies are on board with this move. De Beers has allowed site holders full flexibility to buy what they want during the next few sites. Site holders are typically bound by contract to buy a majority of their allocations at each site, with some wiggle room to leave 10 to 20% of the goods on the table. So this full flexibility that site holders basically do not have to buy at all is a big deal for De Beers, whose rough sales are already down by 28% for the year to date. Similarly, Alrosa reportedly cancelled its September and October sales, and several rough auctions and tenders have also been cancelled or postponed due to the weak market. So look, the mining companies will take a knock, but they have no choice. There simply is no demand for their rough. They could reduce prices to stimulate buying. After all, everything sells at a price. But miners would rather reduce sales volume than price, as we've seen in the past. It's not so easy to bring those prices back up, and they have fixed costs that require a certain level of rough prices to cover those expenses. Besides, site holders as buyers also don't want further reductions in rough prices, as they argue it has a knock-on effect to the polish market, influencing additional declines in polish prices and certainly on sentiment. What can I say? It's a bit of a vicious cycle. So how did we find ourselves in this situation? I'm convinced it's how we approach the market in good times that determines our level of crisis during the difficult periods. I point to over-aggressive rough buying when the market was strong in 2021 and part of 2022, and under-aggressive marketing during that same period. We took things for granted somewhat, thinking we had set a new higher bar of demand that would be sustained. We did not invest in category marketing when diamonds were front and center of consumers' minds. And then on the supply side, the midstream has this addiction to rough buying and building up inventory when the going is good, until woe is them when they can't get rid of it in a downturn. The Gem and Jewelry Export Promotion Council called out the mining companies for regularly selling rough diamonds irrespective of the state of demand in the midstream. But manufacturers tend to buy rough irrespective of their polishing needs. So it's easy for me to criticize. I'm not in the market. I'm not buying, selling. I'm not manufacturing. I see my role in this sense as kind of a pundit. So take this from whence it comes. But the rough sector does tend to think and act short-term, and that needs to stop. We're now entering a period during which there will be very little rough coming onto the market, so we can focus on selling polished. And more importantly, at a time when we can focus on selling diamond jewelry with the holiday season coming up. That should restore some balance to the market, and we'll know to what extent come January and February. By then, I expect that those polished inventory levels would have come down after the holiday season and after the moratorium on rough buying has been lifted in India. And at that point, in January and February, We need to keep an eye on the rough market, the levels of rough buying, levels of supply and prices, so that that balance is maintained during a stronger market. Okay, so it's one thing to tackle supply, but it's another and a much more important other to stimulate demand. De Beers has committed $20 million to its holiday marketing effort. It has rolled out its campaign reusing its Seize the Day theme that has been effective in the past, as well as the iconic "A Diamond is Forever" tagline. This is a generic type category marketing campaign. De Beers does not have its branding on those marketing assets, and it's making the promotional material available to jewelry retailers free of charge. I'd appeal to jewelers to really take advantage of that. The natural diamond industry needs a collective push to stimulate the market from the demand side. And I'm waiting with some anticipation to hear what the Natural Diamond Council has in store with its holiday marketing efforts. And when the market does recover, the industry needs to double down on those marketing efforts. We cannot take consumer desire for diamonds for granted. Okay, let me know your thoughts. Will the freeze on rough buying help stimulate the market? Is the industry doing enough to promote our product ahead of the holiday season? Leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram, and subscribe to my newsletter. Have an awesome rest of the week and weekend. See you all next time.